Ballpoint pens may be used from almost any angle, while a fountain pen needs a more direct approach. What follows is a guide on picking up and using a fountain pen. Because everyone has a unique hand size and set of tools, you should try out a few different methods to find the one that you like most. Don't stress if your preferred method of pen holding deviates somewhat from the standard. However, if you find that you are having problems writing easily and comfortably, try some of the modifications recommended below, or watch this video to see our recommendations in action. How to find the right fountain pen supplies. Pad and pen combo, Rhodia R Premium, and Lamy Safari. For those just starting off, I recommend the Rhodia R Premium Notepad and the Lamy Safari Fountain Pen. We'll be taking notes on a Rhodia R Premium No. 16 notebook using a Lamy Safari Fountain Pen with a fine nib. The Lamy Safari was chosen since it is a reliable fountain pen that requires little upkeep while yet producing smooth writing. The pen's ABS plastic body is both lightweight and very durable, the same material Lego blocks are made of. The ergonomic shape of the handle facilitates holding it securely. You may either use a fresh cartridge or a converter to utilize bottled ink, and either way, refilling is a breeze. In order to take full use of the Lamy Safari's slick ink flow, we opted for the Rhodia R Premium Pad, which is a very smooth paper. Still, it has the right amount of tooth to prevent it from being too slick for writing. The drying time is just approximately 10 seconds, and it has a minimal show throw. Protecting the fountain pen. When deliberating whether or not to post, one must consider both posted and unposted fountain pens. Think about sending your fountain pen in the mail. Determine whether you'd rather write with the cap posted, connected to the pen's rear, or unposted before you pick up the pen. Some individuals prefer writing without the cap on their fountain pen since they have smaller hands, although leaving the cap on is the norm. Maintain a tripod grip on the pen with your thumb and index finger. Maintain a tripod grip on your pen. Holding the pen between your thumb and index finger will give you the most control. Hold the barrel above your middle finger or just ahead of the knuckle. Hold the writing surface firmly with your palm, ring finger, and pinky finger. Since the sweet spot of most fountain pen nibs is between 40 and 55 degrees, the pen should make that angle while writing. Despite the fact that this is lower than usual, you may expect a rich ink flow. A pair of egg key to center. Learn to write at your pen's optimal point. Learn where the ink flow is best from your fountain pen. The optimal writing point is the point where the nib's tip moves smoothly over the paper. When you press down on the ideal area, the tines and feet slightly split, allowing the ink to flow more freely. Find your rhythm and writing will flow easily and continually. When not in its sweet spot, the nib has a scratchy, skippy sensation. Those who acquired their craft with a pencil may unconsciously twist their utensils in search of a point that will allow them to write legibly. A fountain pen is not the best medium for this practice. The fountain pen's sweet spot will be pulled off the paper if you spin the pen too much. FLUXDCRAATION do text. Use your arm as a pen. Do some arm writing. Make use of your arm as a writing implement. Some writers maintain a steady hand by flexing and bending their fingers to keep the pen steady. This is a tiring activity that might cause permanent damage to the tendons in your fingers if done for too long. This writing style also incessantly alters the height and orientation of the pen, making it hard to find the pen's optimal writing position. If you want to prevent carpal tunnel and other hand ailments, consider writing with your lower arm instead of your hand. Doing so requires you to use your arm's larger muscles rather than your fingers' smaller ones. Less hand and wrist stress is required with this method, so that your handwriting remains uniform. You also maintain a fixed pen angle and pen height. Lessen the load. Avoid using too much pressure while writing. Use a gentle hand while writing. You may be exerting too much pressure on your fountain pen if you're used to writing with a ballpoint. When using a ballpoint pen, you have to maintain pressure on the writing surface at all times. To get ink out of a fountain pen, You need to glide the pen gently on the paper. When you press down too firmly, you might damage the nib's alignment or wear it down over time. The art of choosing a fountain pen. Many factors, such as the size of your hand and the kind of writing you perform, influence how you go about choosing a fountain pen. Choosing the right pair of shoes is an analogy. Do you need a new pair of marathon running shoes? In how to produce an excellent first impression on a date, instead than braving the wet streets, why not? Ask yourself the following questions to help you choose the best fountain pen for your needs and to ensure that your writing sessions are pleasant. If your hand were a block, how large would it be? Fountain pen with a focus on piloting. If you have skinny fingers or tiny hands, the Pilot Penmanship Fountain Pen is the best option. If you use a pen that is too big or too little, your hands will become tired and cramp up. Pens with a large gripping area, like the Rhodia R Fountain Pen, are ideal for those with large hands. Thin pens, like the Pilot Penmanship Fountain Pens, with curved handles are more comfortable to write with if you have small hands. The Kaweco Lilliput, one of the world's tiniest fountain pens, is another great choice for those with little hands. When mounted, its height of 5 inches provides enough stability without being excessive. Regardless of the size of one's hands, those who suffer from arthritis will have an easier time holding a pen that is wider. Who are these people you're putting to paper? Safari pilots Elabo and Lamy. The Pilot Elabo is an excellent pen for writing Asian characters. More cursive or Western-style writing works best with the Lamy Safari. The fine lines required to preserve readability in Asian scripts like Chinese and Japanese are a direct result of the great number of individual characters and nuances included in these writing systems. Changing the pressure of one's strokes and sometimes lifting one's nib off the paper are other common practices in traditional and calligraphic writing. Put more pressure on the paper in the beginning of the piece and less at the conclusion. The Pilot Elabo is a fantastic fountain pen for writing Chinese, Japanese, and other Asian characters due to its soft, flexible nib. Elabo's fine and extra fine nibs are ideal for creating even the most detailed of characters. Be aware that the finer Japanese nibs may bleed through the paper if you push too hard. When utilizing them, try to use a lighter touch. However, the forms used in the Western alphabet are rather straightforward. Western authors often use cursive, a writing form that requires less frequent pen retraction from the paper. A fountain pen designed for Western letters should have a wide nib, write smoothly, and not need excessive pressure. As an example of a pen suitable for English authors, we will choose the slim and reliable Lamy Safari. Take mind that larger nibs might deposit ink pools and cause bleed-through if you apply too much pressure. Approximately how large is your handwriting? The variability of handwriting size. It's recommended to choose a finer nib for smaller writing and a wider nib for larger writing. The general guideline is that smaller hands need finer nibs and bigger hands require wider nibs. Incredibly fine nibs make even the smallest, most compressed handwriting readable. However, if your handwriting tends to be tall and broad, using a fine nib may cause your letters to seem spidery and out of proportion. Fine Japanese fountain pen nibs are worth looking at if you fall into the former group of writers. If you fall into the second category, I recommend looking at Western fountain pens with wide nibs. See our guide to fountain pen nibs for additional information on the distinctions between these two nib types. Write at any speed you can. Flashy Platinum Rollerball Pen. Writing down short reminders with the Platinum Preppy Fountain Pen is a breeze. The optimal writing pace depends on the context and the writer. If you're like most people, you probably write down words fast while you're doing things like taking notes during a lecture or making a to-do list. To get the finest possible results, you should take your time while writing a personal letter or practicing calligraphy. The Platinum Preppy Fountain Pen is a great example of a lightweight fountain pen with a wide nib that makes writing fast and easy. The fine and medium nibs of the Japanese Preppy employ standard Western-sized writing implements. A heavier fountain pen, such as the Pilot Vanishing Point Fountain Pen, will appeal to the more methodical writer because of its heaviness and solid feel. If you write with a lightweight fountain pen, you may be tempted to tighten your grip to make up for the pen's lack of heft. To the contrary, writers who choose heavier fountain pens should schedule frequent rests to prevent painful muscle strains. What to do with a fountain pen? Sharpen your fountain pen skills by regularly writing with one. Get some experience with a fountain pen by regularly practicing your handwriting. The more you use your fountain pen, the easier it will become for you to write. Here are some ways you may use your fountain pen to improve your writing skills without adding much time to your regular routine. Make someone a beautiful handmade card to show them how much you care. Use the classiest pen or pencil to take the best notes possible during lectures. Mail some snails to your far-flung pals. Secrets should be recorded in a journal. Write some inscriptions for your own scrapbook. Put your John Hancock on checks and legal papers with this handy stamp. A first draft of the next great American book is in your hands.